Thank you very much for your kind introduction, and thank you for inviting me for this very important event, the Climate Energy Summit in Seoul. I'm honored to be here to present how Japan prepares for the future installment of a global treaty to the plastic pollution, as well as to introduce the Japanese domestic policies, actions, and measures in Japan to address the issue of plastics. Let me start with the Japanese position for the negotiation of the future global treaty. Japan has put the highest priority to tackling plastic pollution in recent decades, which is reflected adoption of G20 Osaka Blue Ocean Vision in 2090. In this vision, together with the Republic of Korea and Canada and other colleagues of G20, and Japan shared the vision to reduce emissions, plastic emissions to environment to zero by 2050. And this vision has been expanded not only by G20 countries, but also 87 countries to be shared in the world. And this year, as the presidency of G7, Japan, together with the other G7 members, Canada and the EU, to commit to aim at ending plastic pollution with ambition to reduce the emission by 2040. And this commitment was made by the ministerial level in April in the ministerial meeting in Sapporo, and in May last month, made by the leaders level at the Hiroshima summit. And with this long-term ambition, Japan aims for the future instrument that is effective and progressive and which accommodates as many countries as possible, including large consumers and emitters of plastics. And Japan serves as the bureau member representing the Asian Pacific region to this INC negotiations. And it is very much important that to accommodate Asian Pacific countries in this future instrument because the Asian Pacific region is the world's biggest emitting source of the plastics in the environment. According to the statistics from the OECD and the UNEP, more than half of global plastic emission is coming from the Asian Pacific countries, such as China, India, and ASEAN countries. So with this understanding, Japan puts a very importance to engage the Asian Pacific countries in these negotiations. And at the INC2 meeting last month in Paris, Japan announced that to join the High Ambition Coalition, HAC, on plastic pollution, which is just presented by the Ambassador Webendorfer. And I think that the Republic of Korea was also a member of this HAC, and Canada and the EU as well. So Japan joins this group, which is the group of the highest ambition countries, more than 50 countries. And these countries are also aiming at to reduce our additional pollution to zero by 2040. So this is very important for us, for Japan, to work with those countries to get the future treatment as ambitious as possible. At the INC2 meeting in Paris, our main message from Japan is to call for a common global goal to end plastic pollution with the ambition to reduce additional pollution to zero by 2040. It just agreed by the G7 countries and also HAC countries. And we stress the importance of cross-cutting obligations to promote domestic plastics recycling and society-wide systems that reduce leakage. And these actions should cover full life cycle of plastics. And Japan puts a stress on the midstream actions such as distribution, sales, and consumption, because this is very much important but difficult stage. And so Japan put stress on these midstream stage. Okay. And this slide shows recent events, both domestic and international context. As you can see, the domestic policies development are quite in line with international actions. In 2019, just before the G20 Osaka Summit, Japanese government developed the resource circulation strategy for plastics. And in June 2021, the Act for Plastic Resource Circulation was adopted by the Diet, and this act was entered into force in April 2022, just after the resolution of UNEP 5 to decide to develop the international legally binding instrument. And after that, we are having the INC 1 and 2 meetings and the G7 meetings as well. And we will update these strategies and act in line with the future negotiations on the global treaty. Let me talk a little bit about this strategy in 2019. This strategy set out the key strategies with the 3 R's and renewables: reduce, reuse, recycle, and renewables. And for example, in to reduce single-use plastics by several actions, including the pricing on plastic bags. And this strategy also sets several numerical targets aiming at year 2030, 2025, or 2035. The 6 targets are here and here, yes. For example, 25% reduction of single-use plastics by 2030. And we also aim at reuse, recycle the 60% of containers and packaging by 2030. And we will aim at 100% effective use, to some extent effectively use the used plastics by 2035. And also we will introduce 2 million tons of bioplastics by 2030. And this strategy also touching upon the marine plastic litter issues, including the data collection of marine waste, or collection and proper treatment of coastal drift litters, and also the microplastics. As Ambassador Webendorfer said, that it is quite hard if we release the microplastics to the environment, we cannot collect it. So we will reduce microplastics as much as possible. For example, by eliminating microbeads in scrub products by 2020, etc. And it also touches upon the international cooperation or support to the other countries, support emerging and developing countries by infrastructure and technologies. And also we will develop the global monitoring and research network related to the marine plastics and the microplastics. And this slide shows some effects or results of the charging for the plastic bags which was introduced in the 2020 based on this strategy. And comparing the before the enforcement of the charging for the plastic bags and after that, the percentage of the people, those who did not use plastic bags for a week, increased from 30% to 70%, and also the percentage of those who declined to receive plastic bags increased. At the convenience store, about 23% was increased about 75%. And the total amount of plastic bags in domestic market was decreased by the half, about 200,000 tons to the 100,000 tons. So this is one of the effective measures to charge the plastic bags. And regarding the law or act for the plastic resource circulation, which was entered into force last April last year, And this act also covers the full life cycle of the plastics, but the special focus is put on the designing and manufacturing and also the sales and provision levels. And for example, the designing and manufacturing, the government will certify some products which is designed in accordance with the, which is good for the environment. And we developed some guidelines for those products. And we will, Japanese government and also the local governments will facilitate to use those environmentally sound plastic products by utilizing the procurement system of the government. And regarding the sales stage, we will facilitate, we are facilitating the reduction of single-use plastics. And retailers and service providers are required to reduce single-use plastics through several measures. For instance, rewarding programs for consumers for refused single-use plastics, or charging, or switching to alternative materials. So those single-use plastics includes forks, spoons, knives in the retailers or restaurants, and also hairbrushes, combs in the hotels, and also dry cleaners, the hangers, clothes covers. These kind of single-use plastics are reduced as much as possible using this system. And regarding the discharge or collection or recycling stage, under this new law, we will put all plastic waste or plastic materials to be recycled. And before the enforcement of the law, we covers some kind of containers and packages which are already recycled. But under this law, we include all plastic products to be reduced or reused or recycled in accordance with the waste collection system in the local governments and also the business sectors. And we will aim to grow circular economy business to 80 trillion Japanese yen, or the $700 billion by 2030. And under the law, we will also promote the development or use of alternative materials. And Japanese government will support by aiding the converting of substitute or alternative materials. And 5 billion Japanese yen will be provided for this program or project for this year. And these alternative materials include marine biodegradable plastics, bioplastics, and other materials such as cellulose or papers. It is very much important, not only governments, but also business sectors are key sectors to promote circular economy and also the circular plastic economies. And in the year 2021, yes, Japanese government and Keidanren, the Japanese biggest business association, launched the Partnership for Circular Economy, or J-FORCE, which as a public and private partnership to aim at the circular economy. And so far, the 138 companies or organizations joined these actions, and the number is increasing now. And this J-FORCE, we aim at understanding the circular economy and also promote various kinds of initiatives, and increase Japanese presence to the Japanese businesses' presence in the international communities. And it is also important the actions by the local governments or subnational actions. And in Japan, this plastic issue was recognized as the issue of the marine plastics or the coastal drifted plastics waste. As in, like in this South Korea, Japan was surrounded by the ocean or seas, and many beaches and coastal areas in Japan were suffered from the marine litters, including marine plastics, and they pays quite a lot of money to clean up the marine litters. And national government will provide subsidies to local governments to clean up these marine litters in the coastal or beaches. And more than 20 million US dollars are provided for these subsidies every year. And as a result, 270,000 to 450,000 tons of marine litter were collected and disposed in every coastal areas. And this subsidies covers almost 100%, and just a few percent was paid by the local governments. And so this is the financial support from the government to the local governments for these cleanup activities. And these cleanup actions are actually supported by the many NGOs and the citizens in the cleanup activities, cleanup projects. So it's also important to promote the actions, grassroots actions by NGOs and the citizens. And this is one of a unique event, and so-called Gomi. Gomi is the litter in Japanese. So this is a unique and eco-friendly sport, which involves multiple teams, up to 5 persons will compete for the how many garbage they can collect within 1 hour. And this event was more than 800 tournaments has been held so far, not only in my country, but also in South Korea, Myanmar, Panama, and the USA, and those countries. And more than 80,000 participants enjoyed this sport to clean up the beaches or parks and everywhere. Sorry, I'm running out of time, but I will conclude my presentation within a few slides. As for the international context, Japan, to achieve the Osaka Blue Ocean Vision, Japanese government has announced that we will launch the Marine Initiative in 2019 to assist the developing countries by providing Japanese technologies, waste-to-energy plants, or capacity building programs, and technical cooperations. And we put stress the training programs on the monitoring of the microplastics or marine plastics in the South Asian countries, South and Southeast Asian countries. And also we are promoting the monitoring data sharing among other countries. And so far, data was taken from the ocean around the world. More than 8,000 data was collected and shared under the database. And this database will be launched in this year. And Japan would like to take a lead of these kind of areas, the monitoring of the marine plastics. Maybe this is the end of my presentation, and I would like to summarize my presentation here. My message is, firstly, the future instrument must be effective, progressive, and inclusive, with shared global vision, global goal, and covering the full life cycle of plastics. And Japan has taken full life cycle approaches to address plastic pollution based on the strategy and the act. And the engagement of stakeholders, business, local governments, and citizens is the key to address this issue. And international cooperation support is also important. And the special focus was put on capacity building and the science-based data collection and disseminations. So with that, I thank you very much for your attention. 감사합니다. Thank you.